Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 66 based on novel. So let's start. Qing Tan's heart-wrenching cry spread from the altar and reverberated across the sky above Darkness Square. This caused countless people to be stunned, especially the experts from Darkness Judgment Hall. Ever since Qing Tan entered Darkness Judgment Hall, all they had seen was a cold and almost emotionless young lady. No one knew how much blood were on her fair little hands. In a short 3 years, she had advanced from an ordinary disciple to the most authoritative position, head judge, and even the other 2 deputy heads treated her with great respect despite her youth. However, after getting used to seeing Qing Tan's bloody tactics for the very first time today, they found that she also possessed such a weak side to her. She had completely lost her usual methods and charisma. Instead, she had truly become a girl who matched her age. Bewilderment filled the eyes of the elders from the Elder Council as they watched this scene. The 2 grand elders in the sky stared at the skinny figure with a dark and gloomy expression. The sound of Qing Tan crying went on and on. It was as though she wanted to cry out all the hardships and grievances she had suppressed over the last 3 years. Subsequently, Lindong looked at his wet chest as a wave of helplessness washed over him. He rubbed the little girl's head and said, "Hey, have you still not cried enough? You do know that you are the current palace master of Darkness Palace, right?" The girl in his embrace sobbed softly. Only then did she lift her large red eyes. She looked at the matured yet familiar face, rubbed her sharp nose and said, "Big brother Lindong, I knew that nothing would happen to you. I am definitely fine, but I'm afraid that the same cannot be said for yourself." Lindong glared at her a little. His eyes contained a slight bit of ill intent. As someone who had grown up with him, Qing Tan naturally knew his character like the back of her hand. She instantly understood the situation after seeing Lindong's appearance. Her eyes rotated as a resentful expression emerged on her small face. She hugged Lindong and refused to release him. "This is not going to work. I will deal with you once I resolve the trouble here." Lindong snorted coldly and said. Qing Tan seemed to recover upon hearing this and cold light flashed across her eyes. She clenched her hand and the darkness scent scythe flew into her hands. Soon after, she released Lindong. With icy eyes, she looked at the 2 grand elders in the distant sky as she said, "Big brother Lindong, allow me to finish them off this time." Her words had only just sounded when Lindong's hand violently pinched her face as he snapped, "Stand aside. You can forget about fighting when I am around." Under such indignity from Lindong, Qing Tan's small face immediately frowned. This also caused the eyelids of the experts from Darkness Judgment Hall to twitch a little. It was likely that the impact of this scene was slightly too great. "They are very formidable," Qing Tan said. These 2 grand elders were even more frightening than the 3 great heads of Yuan Gate. "Your brother is even more formidable." Lindong grinned and gently patted Qing Tan's head. However, his expression gradually became cold. The overbearing actions of these 2 elders towards Qing Tan earlier had been clearly witnessed by him. Murderous intent involuntarily surged within his heart when he thought of how this little girl had been treated by them. Other than his parents, even he could not bring himself to scold or bully her. Just who did these 2 wretched old fogies think they were? A sweet feeling swelled in Qing Tan's heart when she saw Lindong's expression. After which, she nodded obediently. "May I know who this skillful friend is? Why are you intervening in the matters of our Darkness Palace?" The 2 grand elders frowned after seeing the intimate actions between Lindong and Qing Tan and demanded in a deep voice. Lindong slowly turned around. His expression was indifferent as he looked at the 2 grand elders in the sky. "Did you have a good time bullying others earlier? Friend, this is an internal matter of our Darkness Palace. Qing Tan is my younger sister." An intimidating blade-like smile surfaced on Lindong's face. The faces of the 2 grand elders turned rigid for a moment, before growing increasingly gloomy. It was unexpected that this seemingly lone little girl actually had such a powerful big brother to support her. Why had no one mentioned this before? The countless Northern Xian region experts in Darkness Square looked at each other. So the new palace master actually had such a powerful big brother. From the looks of what the two grand elders had treated Qing Tan, it was likely that this big brother of hers would not simply let the matter rest. Even if you are her big brother, she must be held accountable to the tens of thousands of people in Darkness Palace with regards to this matter. The two grand elders coldly said. Accountable? Lindong seemed to laugh. Murder seemed to pour out of his eyes like a flood. There should no longer be a need to account once I kill you two old farts, right? Lindong clearly comprehended the current situation of Darkness Palace. These two old things had merely used their seniority to bully others, causing the many members of Darkness Palace to be afraid of speaking out. Once these two were dealt with, everything would be naturally resolved. Humph, arrogant brat. Why don't you come and try and see if you can really finish the both of us off? Icy light flickered in the eyes of the two grand elders when they heard this. Although they could sense that it would be troublesome to deal with Lindong, they did not fear him. Their reincarnation stage strength allowed them to look down on all experts. They did not believe that this little brat, who appeared to be only a little older than Qing Tan, could really match them. Is that so? Lindong's mouth parted into a grin. However, ferocity emanated from this grin of his. His body moved and directly appeared in the sky. He clenched his hands and thunder clouds suddenly converged the sky. Meanwhile, frightening thunderbolts crazily gathered. The yuan power of the entire place began to fluctuate wildly at this moment. Bang! Upon seeing this, the auras of the two grand elders surged as mighty yuan power unfurled. A dense reincarnation ripple spread, causing one to feel a sense of dread. Great darkness palm. The hand seals formed by the both of them changed, followed by an explosive shout. The two attacked together. Boundless yuan power turned into two incomparably black giant palms that shattered the void and ruthlessly swatted at Lindong. Lightning flashed within Lindong's pupils as he leaped forward. Countless thunderbolts madly descended. They were accompanied by heaven's might as they smashed heavily onto the two giant darkness palm. As lightning flashed, the wild and violent thunderbolt energy directly shattered the two giant darkness palms. Lindong's body turned into a flash of lightning as it shot forward. A fist was thrown and thunder rumbled. A 10,000 feet large lightning dragon suddenly roared and shot forward. Darkness shield. The two grand elders sternly cried out. Yuan power frantically condensed in front of them and turned into an enormous 10,000 feet large darkness shield. Reincarnation ripples flowed over its surface. Rumble. The lightning dragon viciously battered the darkness shield. Under the dazzling glow of lightning, waves of extremely violent energy wildly eroded the shield. In a split second, the darkness shield was covered in cracks. With a final bang, the shield was completely blasted apart. The pupils of the two elders shrunk the moment the darkness shield exploded. This was because they saw a figure appeared in front of them in a ghost-like fashion. Purplish gold light dashed into the sky as thousands of purplish gold dragon tattoos let out a prolonged roar that resounded over the sky. Roar? Purplish gold dragon claws instantly tore through space, bringing with it a titanic shadow as it ruthlessly smashed towards the two grand elders whose expressions had changed. The shadow engulfed them as terrifying power directly shook space itself until it was slightly distorted. After which, the two grand elders cried out loudly. Both of their hands were swung and an extremely dense reincarnation ripple gathered in their palms. This caused their white gem-like luster to appear on their hands. Boom! The palms and dragon claw slammed into each other and a hurricane was formed in the sky. Everyone was overwhelmed with shock as they watched the two grand elders being forced back at 10,000 feet. An earth-shaking uproar erupted. Terror surged within the gazes which were looking towards Lindong. Who could have imagined that the latter would actually be able to gain such an obvious advantage in this 2 versus 1 situation? Just how frightening was this fellow? The expressions of the elders from the Elder Council drastically changed when they saw this scene. Unease surged out in their eyes. The two black-robed elders on the altar were also greatly shocked as they looked at each other. They would never have imagined that Palace Master's big brother was actually so powerful. Qing Tan's face was flooded with joy. Looks like Big Brother Lindong had grown a lot stronger over the past 3 years. In the sky, Lindong wore an unsympathetic expression as he looked at the two Grand Elders who had been pushed back. The strength of these two were merely at the ordinary reincarnation stage. In terms of strength, they were inferior to the three great heads of Yuan Gate that had merged into the cosmic evil Devil King. Given his current strength, taking care of them was not too troublesome. Lindong extended his hand towards the two in the distance and lightly closed it. As his hand closed, the space around the two Grand Elders immediately distorted as four giant black vortexes appeared out of nowhere. The black holes suddenly started to rotate as terrifying devouring power erupted, creating a frightening tearing force. Even space itself was forcefully ripped to shreds. The two Grand Elders also realized just how frightening the tearing force was. They hurriedly unleashed their full strength and frantically blocked the invading tearing force. After which, their faces flushed red. With a loud cry, they finally broke out from the black hole prison. Rumble. However, a thunderous sound appeared the moment they had charged out from the black hole prison. Dazzling light seemed to fill the entire area as a 10,000 feet large thunderbolt-like pillar descended like the light of judgment. In the end, it ruthlessly slammed onto the two figures with lightning speed. Boom! Black smoke rose from the two black figures as they fell from the sky. They ultimately landed on Darkness Square in front of countless pairs of stunned eyes, creating a 10,000 feet deep pit on its incomparably hard surface. Two miserable figures painstakingly stood up in the pit. Their bodies staggered as a mouthful of blood was involuntarily spat out. The elders of the Elder Council almost fainted when they saw this scene. Horror frantically rose in their hearts. Their strongest trump card was actually defeated in such a manner? A loud hubbub erupted from the entire Darkness Square at this moment. The leaders of the various factions of the Northern Xian region were dumbstruck as they watched this scene, while intense shock rose on their faces. Only a short period of time had passed, yet the two reincarnation stage Grand Elders had already been defeated? How is this possible? This sentence was repeated in the hearts of countless people. Many shocked eyes looked to the lightning godlike Lindong amidst the thunderbolt backdrop in the sky. Just who on earth was he? Where had he popped out from? To think that he had reached such a frightening level. In the sky, Lindong looked at the two people in the huge pit with an indifferent expression as he said in a faint voice, "Am I now qualified to repeat the words I said earlier?" This time, the entire place was completely silent. Even the elders from the Elder Council had sealed their mouths shut. Other than the elders who most fiercely opposed Qing Tan, the eyes of the others flickered with thought. This big brother of Qing Tan, who had appeared from nowhere, clearly possessed an extremely terrifying strength. If they offended him, it was likely that no one here would be able to stop him. Atop the altar, joy was revealed in the eyes of the experts from Darkness Judgment Hall. The two Grand Elders were the trump card of the Elder Council. If even they were of no use, it was likely that the Elder Council would no longer dare to fight against Palace Master. The two Grand Elders within the deep pit spat out a mouthful of blood. Their elderly faces had become much paler. It was clear that they had suffered rather serious injuries due to Lindong's ferocious attack. "You?" The two Grand Elders gritted their teeth and looked at Qing Tan on the altar as they sternly said, "This is an internal affair of our Darkness Palace. Yet, you involved an outsider for your own ends. How can anyone accept you as the Palace Master?" Qing Tan smiled when she heard this and replied, "Grand Elders, these words are indeed well spoken. However, when you have tried to suppress me earlier, did any of you remember your status? Your seniority is even higher than my master. Yet, just look at your earlier actions." Qing Tan was no longer the pampered little girl from back then. Her sharp words not only caused the expressions of the two Grand Elders to pale, but even the various leaders in the square, who had remained neutral, to quietly nod their heads. These two did not know the meaning of shame when they made use of their age to bully others earlier. However, they immediately brought up this matter the moment they suffered a loss. Did they really think that everyone present was a blind fool? I originally could not be bothered with the affairs of your Darkness Palace. However, Qing Tan is first my little sister before she is the Palace Master of your Darkness Palace. Since you people bullied her, as her big brother, I will naturally stand up for her. I'm afraid that the matter today will not be resolved so easily. Lindong's eyes were stern and cold as he stared at the two grand elders. His flat voice surged with killing intent. Lindong's words clearly indicated that he would not let the matter rest so easily today. This made the expressions of the two grand elders change. After having exchanged blows with Lindong previously, they could now tell just how powerful the latter was. If they were to directly clash against him, even the both of them combined would not be his match. The elders from the Elder Council also had pale expressions. If the two grand elders were dealt with today, they would lose their greatest backer. Just the thought of Qing Tan's methods made them shudder. You should not be too arrogant. Do you really think that it is so easy to bully our Darkness Palace? The two grand elders shouted. Lindong looked at the both of them in an indifferent manner and ceased speaking. However, thunder clouds began to gather in the sky as berserk thunderbolt energy swiftly agglomerated. You? Savage expressions flashed across the eyes of the grand elders after seeing that Lindong was unmoved. Soon after, the grand elders faced each other, before they gritted their teeth and cried out, "All right, you asked for it. Do you really think that the both of us have no way to deal with you?" One of them extended his hand the moment their words faded. Light gathered on his palm and transformed into a black bead the size of a longan. The bead was covered in numerous complex inscriptions. Surprise flashed across Lindong's eyes when he saw this scene. He could detect an extremely unusual ripple from the black bead. The black bead slowly rose from his outstretched palm as the savageness within the eyes of the two grand elders became even more intense. Finally, they bit the tip of their tongue. A mouthful of essence blood shot out and landed onto the black bead. "We respectfully invite the ancestor's spirit." The two of them cried out in unison. Rays of black light exploded from the black bead. The black light gradually gathered together and transformed into an illusory light figure. The light figure was tall and had a face akin to jade. However, there was little intelligence in those eyes. However, this did not stop the frightening fluctuation that emanated from within his body. This ripple was something that even the two reincarnation stage grand elders could not be compared to. The strength of this light figure had already reached the peak of someone who had crossed the first reincarnation tribulation. Lindong's expression turned a little grim at this moment as alarm flashed across his eyes. This Darkness Palace did have some hidden techniques. No wonder it had been able to protect the Darkness ancestral symbol. Ancestor's spirit? Many exclamations erupted from Darkness Square following the appearance of the figure. The light figure was surprisingly the first palace master of Darkness Palace. How could this happen? How could they have summoned Ancestor's spirit? The two black-robed elders exclaimed as astonishment filled their eyes. Atop the altar, the darkness scythe in Qing Tan's hand shook violently the moment the light figure appeared, causing her expression to change. She could feel that the darkness scythe seemed to have an intimate connection with the light figure. Qing Tan's small hands tightly grabbed the darkness scythe as the expression in her eyes fluctuated. Moments later, she seemed to have suddenly understood something and exclaimed, "This is the darkness scythe spirit." The expressions of the two grand elders changed upon hearing Qing Tan's exclamation. So that's it, no wonder Master never mentioned anything about the darkness scythe spirit. It turns out that someone secretly stole the scythe spirit. How bold of you to hide the sacred spirit. This is a great sin to my darkness palace, so great that it is sufficient to strip both of you of your positions as grand elders. Qing Tan's pretty face was frosty as she coldly cried out. A commotion erupted within Darkness Square. Many of the Darkness Palace upper echelons revealed shocked expressions. The scythe spirit of the Darkness scythe had actually been stolen by the two grand elders. No wonder they dared to confidently say that the Darkness scythe was incomplete. Humph, this is not a place where you can utter such nonsense. A cold glint flashed in the eyes of the two grand elders as they sent out a thought. In a flash, the light figure appeared in front of Lindong. After which, bright light surged. It was accompanied by an astonishing power as it swept towards Lindong. While the light figure was holding Lindong back, those two grand elders charged towards Qing Tan in a phantom-like manner. From the looks of it, they were planning on capturing the latter. At that time, Lindong would have to proceed with caution. Humph! A cold glint flashed across Qing Tan's eyes when she saw the two Grand Elders charging towards her. Her small hands grasped the darkness-saint scythe tightly as the ancient symbol on her brow became increasingly clear. After which, the scythe was swung with a swoosh sound and darkness seemed to engulf the entire place for an instant. One of the Grand Elders arrived and mighty Yuan power surged. Reincarnation ripples emanated from his palm as it clashed against the sharp scythe. Sparks flew and a distorted feeling emerged in the surrounding area. After which, Qing Tan and the Grand Elder were forced a dozen steps back. However, before she could stabilize the fluctuations in her body, another figure shot towards her and the other Grand Elder launched his ferocious attack. A cold glint flickered within Qing Tan's eyes when she saw this. Just as she was about to attack again, a beautiful white figure suddenly appeared in front of her. A long sword seemed to hum as it thrust forward. After which, an inconspicuous sword glow shot out and collided head-on with the Grand Elder's attack. The sword glow shot past and blood splattered. The Grand Elder let out a miserable cry as his body catapulted backwards in a miserable fashion. Blood dripped from his hand. After which, his furious gaze shifted over and saw a beautiful figure in a white dress silently standing in front of Qing Tan. Blood dripped from the 3-feet-long sword in her hand. The person who had attacked was naturally Ling Qingshu, who had hidden herself by the side. This sudden and unexpected change caused many surprised pairs of eyes to look over. Amazement rose in their eyes when they saw the beautiful figure in white. At this moment, all the experts from Darkness Judgment Hall finally recovered. They hurriedly clustered around Qing Tan to protect her. Qing Tan was likewise surprised as she looked at Ling Qingshu, who had appeared beside her. The latter's demeanor and the beautiful outline under her veil caused her to be slightly stunned. Subsequently, she glanced at Lindong in the sky. Her small mouth pouted slightly as she looked at Ling Qingshu again asked, "Who are you?" Ling Qingshu was also slightly startled. Soon after, she replied, "I am known as Ling Qingshu." Qing Tan stared at her and muttered, "Could you be Big Brother Lindong's?" Although she did not finish her words, Ling Qingshu naturally understood what she was trying to ask. Despite her aloof character, her face involuntarily flushed a little at this moment. After which, she quietly shook her head. Some doubt remained on Qing Tan's face. However, she did not press the matter. All she did was look at the sky in a somewhat worried manner where extremely frightening fluctuations were spreading. The strength of the ancestor's spirit was terrifying to the extreme. She did not know if Lindong could cope. Bang! An astonishing energy ripple swept over the sky. Lindong took a couple of steps back. His expression darkened when he glanced at the scene below. These two old codgers were really shameless. To think that they had actually taken advantage of this opportunity to attack Qing Tan. The faces of those two Grand Elders twitched under Lindong's gaze. However, they were slightly comforted after seeing the scythe spirit. This scythe spirit could be considered the guardian of Darkness Palace. As long as this thing was in their hands, it was likely that Lindong would not be able to do anything to them. Lindong seemed to comprehend their thoughts, and a cold glint flitted across his pitch-black eyes. A flash of black light shot out with a wave of his sleeve and turned into a black blade-wielding figure which stood guard beside Qing Tan and Ling Qingshu. With the protection of the sky-devouring corpse, these two old codgers would not dare to launch another sneak attack. "Do you really think that this thing can protect you?" Lindong slowly lifted his eyes, looked at the scythe spirit before him and smiled coldly. Just as he was about to act, Yang's voice resounded within his heart, causing him to be slightly stunned. "Heh, since we are both divine object spirits, leave this little one to me." "You?" Upon hearing Yang's words, Lindong instantly gawked before quietly chuckling in his heart. Since his awakening, this fellow had always hid within his body. Moreover, for matters pertaining to straight-up combat, he rarely volunteered himself. Therefore, this was the first time Lindong encountered a situation like this. "Can you handle it?" With suspicion in his heart, Lindong asked. The scythe spirit before them was exceptionally powerful, and it was comparable to a reincarnation stage expert that had passed one reincarnation tribulation. Therefore, even Lindong would find it extremely troublesome to deal with. Although Yang had recovered significantly since his awakening, his appearance suggests that he does not possess much combat abilities. I'm the boss of the divine objects, and I am ranked second on the ancient divine object ranking list, okay? During the ancient times, at my peak condition, even an opponent that had passed one reincarnation tribulation wouldn't pose a threat to me. Yang replied with a laugh. Lindong secretly smiled. With regards to this, he had never doubted Yang. Judging by the fact that he had suppressed numerous Yimo kings during the ancient Great World War, it was clear that this super-great divine object created by the symbol ancestor possessed extremely astonishing combat prowess. Nevertheless, he had similarly suffered great damage back then and had yet to recover since. During that ancient Great World War, the Darkness Scythe suffered the heaviest blow. Back then, the Darkness Master was wielding it when she crossed blows with the Yimo Emperor. In the end, she suffered a miserable defeat, and the scythe spirit of the Darkness Scythe was also killed by the Yimo Emperor. Ever since then, the Darkness Scythe has never been as powerful as before. Yang slowly said. Hearing that, Lindong's pupils froze slightly. The Darkness Master was actually that fearsome? She actually dared to cross blows with the Yimo Emperor. This was something that he could not tell, judging by her sweet and delicate appearance. As of now, the current scythe spirit should have been forged after the second owner of the Darkness ancestral symbol sacrificed his body. Nevertheless, given his strength, it was clear that he was not powerful enough to recreate the scythe spirit. Therefore, I believe that this is only because there were remnant traces of the original scythe spirit within the Darkness Scythe. Therefore, he merged with them and repaired it, before he was finally able to create a new scythe spirit. Yang was clearly extremely knowledgeable about this situation, as he was able to decipher the truth with a single glance. Nevertheless, the scythe spirit that we are seeing now does not possess much intelligence. Clearly, it's still at its infancy. Therefore, it's extremely easy for me to deal with it. Yang said with a smile. Upon hearing that, Lindong nodded his head slightly before he said, since that is the case, I'll leave it to you. Standing in the sky, while Lindong was conversing with Yang, the faces of the two grand elders below fluctuated as they stared at the sky-devouring corpse standing in front of Qing Tan. That was because they were able to sense extremely dangerous fluctuations radiating from its body. Where exactly did that brat come from? Not only is he terrifyingly powerful, he also has such a formidable puppet. The two grand elders shot a look at one another, before they both noticed the uneasiness present in each other's eyes. It seems like there was no way they were going to wrap up today's matter so easily. We can only hope that the scythe spirit is powerful enough to deal with that Lindong. The two of them quietly sighed in their hearts. After which, they lifted their heads before their pupils suddenly froze as they exclaimed, that is. At the spot that they were looking at, a faint white glow had suddenly erupted from Lindong's body. After which, the white glow condensed and transformed into a glowing figure. That figure bore some resemblance to the scythe spirit. However, when they realized that unlike the scythe spirit, there weren't any frightening ripples radiating from the latter's body, they began to feel slightly at ease. Humph! Is that brat planning to rely on that to deal with the scythe spirit? He is truly overestimating himself. The two men snorted coldly, while a derisive glint flashed across their eyes. At this moment, countless pairs of eyes in the darkness square had similarly converged on the two glowing figures in the sky. Meanwhile, anyone could tell that the scythe spirit was already the final trump card of the two grand elders. Therefore, if this move failed, the elders who opposed Qing Tan would all be in trouble. Yang appeared in a flash. Shooting a look at the somewhat vacant-looking scythe spirit, he shook his head before he sighed and said, I never imagined that you would end up like this. Nevertheless, it's still better than vanishing into thin air. Given sufficient time, you should be able to make a complete recovery. When the scythe spirit's vacant eyes looked at Yang, some fluctuations began to ripple within its deadpan emotionless eyes. Something's wrong. Upon seeing this, the faces of the two grand elders changed as they hastily changed their hand seals and tried to control the scythe spirit. The scythe spirit of the darkness scythe isn't something that you trash can control. Yang sneered as he shot a ridiculing look at the two of them. In the next instant, he used his finger to tap the empty space, before a warm white ray of light shot forth and flew right into the middle of the scythe spirit's forehead. After that warm white ray of light shot in, the scythe spirit's body suddenly began to tremble. After which, white glow continuously erupted from its body. As the white glow flowed, black symbols began to appear on the chest of the scythe spirit. Under the illumination of the warm white glow, the black glowing lines melted away at an astonishing speed. Immediately, the faces of the two grand elders became violently contorted. That was because the black symbols were the curse that they were using to control the scythe spirit. However, it was actually being expelled from the body of the scythe spirit right before their eyes. Damn it! Their faces were filled with fear as they quickly tried to activate the curse. However, soon after, a faint cracking sound appeared before the black symbols vanished one after another. Moreover, the instant the symbols disappeared, they immediately realized that they had lost control of the scythe spirit. How is this possible? Their faces instantly turned pale as they stared in bewilderment at Yang. After all, never did they expect that the latter was actually able to dispel their curse so easily. Moreover, this was something that even peak-level experts, that have passed reincarnation tribulations, weren't able to do so. Yang changed his hand seal before glowing seals descended onto the scythe spirit's body. In the next instant, a bright and resplendent light erupted from its body, before the light began to condense. Finally, while it was being stared at by countless onlookers, it once again transformed into a black pearl. Yang opened his palm before that black pearl landed within. Then, he tossed it towards Lindong and said, "Place the scythe spirit back into the darkness scythe. Only by doing so, will it be able to gradually recover." Lindong caught that black pearl. Meanwhile, there was a tinge of shock in his eyes. Clearly, he never expected that the curse on the scythe spirit would be dispelled so easily by Yang. There's nothing strange about this. Amongst the ultimate divine objects created personally by my owner, I am the top-ranked object. Therefore, it's only natural that I've got the means to suppress them. Yang said with a smile. Although he had hardly displayed his astonishing strength in the past, regardless, he was the legendary item that was ranked second on the ancient divine object rankings. Therefore, one must be stupid if one dares to underestimate him. With a faint smile, Lindong nodded his head. Promptly, he flicked his finger before that black pearl shot towards Qing Tan. "Catch it." When Qing Tan saw this, a black glow immediately erupted from the darkness scythe in her hand. After that light swept forth, they absorbed the black pearl and brought it into the body of the scythe. In the next instant, the darkness scythe started to hum and shake, before terrifying fluctuations erupted from within it. Then, its originally massive body grew by a notch. As it was being held by the petite Qing Tan, this scene looked beautiful in a peculiar way. Located in the square, the elders from the Elder Council were staring at this scene with ashen faces. In particular, the first elder's body started to tremble uncontrollably, before he staggered and stumbled as he took 2 steps back. Currently, a commotion had erupted in the square. Moreover, everyone clearly knew what the scene before them implied. The Elder Council's attempt to force Qing Tan to step down had failed completely. Above the altar, Qing Tan tightened the grip over her darkness-sent scythe. However, her beautiful face suddenly turned icy cold. She gently swung her scythe before a brilliant black ray of light shot out, causing the ancestral tablet floating in the sky to slowly disappear. As it slowly disappeared, the suppression effects on the ancestral symbol within her body began to disappear. Once again, the entire place slowly darkened. "Two Grand Elders, do you know the crime that the two of you have committed by hiding the scythe spirit?" When they heard Qing Tan's icy cold voice, the two Grand Elders' bodies trembled. Just as they were about to speak up, they saw Lindong slowly descending from the sky. After which, that terrifying puppet wielding a long black blade hovered over. Meanwhile, there was a chilling glow that caused their hearts to shudder, shimmering on its black blade. A dense killing intent spread from within Lindong's body. Clearly, if those two Grand Elders made the slightest move, a bout of lightning attacks would immediately descend upon them. The two Grand Elders' expressions changed drastically as the rich scent of death gushed into their hearts. Finally, a shade of fear flashed across their eyes. After struggling for a brief moment, they trembled as they spoke. "We two old men were indeed blinded by greed today. Please have mercy, Palace Master." After the two of them spoke, the numerous elders within the Elder Council immediately knelt down before they cried out, "Palace Master, we were forced by the First Elder. Please have mercy, Palace Master." Upon hearing that, the face of the First Elder instantly turned ashen while his body began to tremble continuously due to fear and dread. The situation within the square had changed so quickly that no one had the time to react to it. Who could have imagined that the overbearing and forceful Elder Council would collapse so quickly? The leaders of various factions in the northern Xian region sighed secretly within their hearts. When they turned to look at that lovable figure above the altar, their eyes were all filled with respect. From today onwards, she was clearly the true Palace Master of Darkness Palace. Palace Master. There are too many individuals involved in this matter. If you punished all of them, I am afraid that it'll be detrimental to our Darkness Palace. Upon seeing this scene, the two black-robed elders spoke out softly. Those two Grand Elders clearly knew how crucial they were to Darkness Palace. That was also why they chose to surrender so swiftly. Qing Tan nodded her head slightly. Promptly, she waved her small hand before dozens of black glowing talismans appeared in a flash. Finally, they flew across the sky before they appeared in front of the two Grand Elders as well as the numerous elders. Meanwhile, there was a dense black glow glimmering on the surface of those talismans. "Elders, your attempt to force me to step down is a crime punishable by death. However, on account that all of you have made contributions to my Darkness Palace, I'll pardon your death sentence. However, even though you are all exempted from death, all of you cannot run away from your sentences. This is the Darkness Saint Talisman of our Darkness Palace. If all of you want to keep your lives, you will swallow it." Qing Tan's icy cold voice resounded across the square. When they heard her words, the elders' expressions changed drastically. After all of them knew about the Darkness Saint Talisman. Once they ate it, their lives would be completely under Qing Tan's control. Furthermore, any attempts at resisting will immediately result in their death. As long as all of you are loyal and faithful to me in the future, I will naturally not take action against any of you. As such, the Darkness Saint Talismans would be rendered useless. After all, I do not wish to weaken my palace on my own accord. Sweeping her gaze across those hesitating elders, Qing Tan asked in an indifferent tone, "What's the matter? From the looks of it, it seems like you elders are still trying to rebel." "We don't dare." When they heard her words, those elders finally clenched their teeth viciously, before they swallowed the Darkness Saint Talisman down their throats. Regardless, they wanted to live. Furthermore, what Qing Tan said wasn't wrong. They were the elites of the palace, and as long as they did not plot against her in the future, Qing Tan would not harm them. In that case, swallowing the talisman might even serve as a guarantee that Qing Tan would not take action against them in the future. When the two Grand Elders saw this scene, they released a deep sigh before they swallowed the Darkness Saint Talisman into their bodies. When Qing Tan saw this scene, she finally nodded her head gently. Finally, she cast her icy cold gaze towards the one and only First Elder, who wasn't given a Darkness Saint Talisman. Then, her cold voice rang out, "As for the perpetrator, he must die. Elders, capture that man." "You?" The face of the First Elder changed instantly. He was just about to roar in anger when he saw the malicious gazes from the numerous elders in his surroundings. Even before he could resist, they had already made a move. Boundless Yuan power swept forwards, suppressing him until he couldn't move at all. "Send him into the Darkness Judgment Hall and deal with him using our rules," Qing Tan roared out. After this sentence rang out, shades of despair instantly gushed into the eyes of the First Elder. Meanwhile, the bodies of some elders turned stiff. After entering the Darkness Judgment Hall, even death was considered as a luxury. At this moment, they began to celebrate the fact that they had responded quickly previously. On the square, shock filled the hearts of the various leaders as they took in the scene before them. This was the first time they witnessed the modus operandus of the new Palace Master. In a few moves, not only did she maintain the strength of her Darkness Palace, but she even took complete control of it. Moreover, her final move was exceptionally vicious, as she wanted to intimidate those elders and force them to be grateful that they were able to live. As such, it seemed like no one would ever dare to commit the same offense ever again. Her methods were truly formidable. Standing in the sky, Lindong remained calm and tranquil as he stared at how Qing Tan cleaned up the mess. Nevertheless, not the slightest bit of joy was present within his eyes. Instead, with no emotion on his face, he kept his sky-devouring corpse before he descended above the altar. Qing Tan saw that Lindong had came over with an emotionless face. Since she knew Lindong's temperament down to the core, she naturally knew what the former was thinking about. Gently waving her small hands, she dismissed the experts from the darkness judgment hall, leaving only the two black-robed elders, who had their heads gently lowered. After everyone left, she lowered her head slightly before she walked towards Lindong. Then, she extended her small hands and gently tugged at him. However, despite that, the former only shot an indifferent glare at her before giving a cold snort. Truly a good move. Where did you learn it from? He was quite angry over this. Although he knew that Qing Tan had to utilize such methods in order to cement her position as the palace master of Darkness Palace, from the perspective of an older brother, he didn't like seeing his lovable, naive, and cute little sister pulling off such frightening schemes. That was because at times, when people pull off such schemes, it was equivalent to corrupting their own bodies. Pouting her little mouth, Qing Tan gave Lindong a hug, before she drilled her little face into his bosom. Then, her frail little shoulders started to tremble gently, before a mutter filled with grievance rang out, "I don't like to wear these masks as well. However, you were not around and no one was taking care of me. Furthermore, as long as I can take revenge for you, I don't care even if I become someone that you don't like." At this moment, Lindong's body began to tremble gently. Promptly, he turned to look at that little girl in his embrace, before he gave a long sigh. This lass has truly grasped his Achilles heel. After that one sentence, how could he possibly fault her? This video will end here.